Let's unmute us here. Hey, Regina Andler here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And I have my good friend Lillian Sue. Now, I know there's a Ledoux on the back of that, so I'm not sure exactly what the full name is. Go by
Uh,
Lillian Sue?
Sue is what I use professionally, so you can just go with that. Ledoux's my married name. Yeah.
Ah, fabulous. You see all these names on people, and it happens all the time. Hey, a little tip for everybody who's watching. If you have multiple names, make sure they're consistent across the board. And I am one of those people, because if you look at my Facebook page, it says Regina Patty Hayes Andler. It has every name that I have. So I have Lillian Sue with me today, and let me tell you a little bit about Lillian. She is a PR coach and publicist, public relations. Okay, say that 10 times fast. And she is in the storytelling and relationship building business. She empowers creative entrepreneurs and coaches to push past limiting beliefs, to gain the confidence and harness the power of PR, to share their stories worldwide and build powerful relationships with media and key partners to achieve their goals. So, welcome, Lillian.
Thanks for having me, Regina.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here, because this is such a cool subject, because anybody who's in business, which, hey, we all are, right? If we're here, we're in business. And from a business standpoint, public relations, that is our business. If we aren't out in front of people, we have no clients. So the goal is to get in front of as many people as possible. And how you do that makes a really big difference.
Mhm.
And I know that's what you specialize in, that whole PR thing, when you talk about branding and public relations and all the stuff that you're out there talking about and doing. I know you focus a lot on that storytelling to help build people's brands and do that PR. Tell us a little bit about storytelling. Why is storytelling so important?
Sure. Yeah. I Storytelling has been a cornerstone of my life, my entire life, even before I started my business. And the reason why is because storytelling to me is the most authentic, raw, realistic way for someone to get to know you. And in business, I've had a lot of entrepreneurs and authors come to me and say, why can't I just let my product or my book do the talking for me? You know, like I can just push it out there and it lives out there. And, why can't that be the face of my business? And I say to them, here's the thing. What you have to remember is that what you do is not unique. There are thousands of people that do what you do. What's going to make someone trust you and actually want to support you, buy from you, recommend you to their network is how you show up, how you add value, how you're willing to share what it is that makes you different. And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable because it requires you to sit there and actually dig into, why did I start my business? What inspires me? What's helping me move forward? What do I want to actually do with it? And that's what makes you different. Putting your product on sale or talking about its features isn't really going to do anything at the end of the day because somebody down the road might sell exactly the same thing you do. So, what's going to make someone buy into what it is that you do and trust you and actually believe that you're credible is going to be your story.
Right. And so, you said something there in the middle of that with, it can kind of freak people out when you have to talk about your story, because some people are doing what they're doing because of something that they lived through. So they
Mhm.
had some kind of, maybe even a traumatic experience or something, where that kind of, brought them to where they are today, because they lived through it. They went through whatever it was, and during that process they learned something that they could then help others with. And so they started these businesses, whether it's, how to be a survivor of strokes, how to be, survive brain injuries or something because you had one, or, lose weight because you lost 120 pounds, or, whatever it is, you went through something. And the whole idea of thinking back on where you were back then to tell your story can be intimidating for some people. Now, one of the things that I read in your bio is that you help people with limiting beliefs. And I personally believe that that comes from limiting beliefs, because your story doesn't, your story is your background, it's your past. It doesn't necessarily define who you are today. And the thing is that when you have some kind of experience that sends you there, that can create a whole host of limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
So talk about a little bit about, the limiting belief piece of it to get to the point where you can actually tell your story and help people.
Right. I want to sort of preface that by saying when we talk about the causes of these limiting beliefs, the fear, the anxiety, the imposter syndrome, the comparison syndrome, I'm not a clinical counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not dealing with the trauma part of it. But what I want to do for my clients, and what I do for my clients, is I sit them down and I go, I sense that you have a lot of fear and anxiety about getting out there. And I think it would be helpful to kind of sit down and sort of dig into where that might come from. Is it societal pressure? Is it how you were brought up? Is it expectations that you have on yourself to be perfect, to do better, to push yourself towards burnout because that's the only way you think you can make progress? Where is that coming from? And once we sort of recognize what triggers it, I work with my clients on focusing on the positive side. A lot of anxiety and everything comes down to them catastrophizing outcomes. What if this happens? What if that happens? And I work with them to say, okay, well, if this hasn't happened yet, the positive outcome is just as likely. So let's focus on the positive outcome of what could come out of this if you take this opportunity to do this interview, to do this panel event, to stand up and present like a workshop or do a webinar. So I work with them through their limiting beliefs by using things like affirmations, mindset mantras, and just giving them a different perspective and clarity on just because you feel fear or you feel anxiety doesn't mean it has to stop you. That's what I tell them too, is like, it doesn't mean that you're never going to feel this again, and it doesn't mean that it necessarily goes away. What we're trying to build here is to give you some tools and resources to better recognize when it's happening and then learn how to push past it so that it's like, you know what? I'm up here, I'm nervous, but I'm up here anyway because I believe in my potential, I believe in my experiences and my expertise, and I know I can share them. And to your point about there being kind of an inciting event or experience in an entrepreneur's background, that's why I always say to my clients, you have a choice between what is private and what is personal. And only you get to decide where that line is and how much of that you're willing to share. Because people don't need to know your entire life story to trust you. But what they want to know is, hey, if you are teaching me something, if you are offering me a product or service that's supposed to solve this problem, what I want to know is, what's your experience with this? Have you gone through this and learned something that I could learn from as well?
Yeah, it all comes down to that connection. So, like you said earlier, I mean, there's literally thousands of people who do what all of us do. I mean, there's not one of us is unique in our industry, meaning, I'm a business consultant, you are a PR coach and publicist. There's thousands of other people who do exactly what we do.
Yeah.
So why is somebody going to work with you? Why is somebody going to work with me? They're going to work with you because they resonate with you. And the only way that they can resonate with you is if they know a little bit of something about you, which has to do with your story. And so when you share that piece of it, I like what you said about, you get to pick and choose how much of the story you actually want to share. It doesn't mean, when we talk about sharing your story, it doesn't mean you have to like throw it all out on the table and, just, dump it all. You get to pick and choose. So when you think about what you're going to pick and choose, how do you come about deciding what parts of my story do I want to tell?
That's a question I get pretty often from entrepreneurs and authors and other creative folks, and I say to them, what they really want to know when it comes to your story is the part of it that pertains to what you're doing now and how you got to that point. So if, for example, in my story, I've always been entrepreneurial, and that originally came from a desire as a university student looking for paid internships to build my portfolio. That was the genesis of it, and then it just became my own business, right? And so things like that, where there's certain what I refer to as crossroad points in an entrepreneur's journey that people really want to learn about. Whereas, like, where and how did you start? Because everybody has an idea, everybody has a reason why they choose this path instead of doing the 9 to 5 and working for 40 years for one company and getting a pension, right? And there's other people that left their 9 to 5s to start their business. There's a reason there too. So start there, because that's really what people want to know about. And then as you've evolved as an entrepreneur running your brand and running your businesses, people are going to want to know, where did things change for you? What did you learn? How did you overcome some of the things that you've dealt with in business? Uh, 11 years ago, I didn't make a cent the entire calendar year. And I had a choice to make about, do I continue to do this? And if the answer to that is yes, how do I change directions? And it was 11 years ago that I incorporated PR into my business, because I
Wow.
wasn't doing that before. So it's these types of lessons that I say to my clients that, people really want to learn more about, because it inspires them, and they get to know you as somebody who isn't just perfect and pristine in running a business. You actually appear to them as a person now. You are learning, you are growing just like them. You've been through things that have changed your trajectory just as it has for them. And maybe it'll inspire them to not only follow you, buy from you, recommend you, but hey, you could be inspiring a bunch of other people to become entrepreneurs themselves.
Right. You said something in there with the as you were talking about how you added PR.
Mhm.
So when you start going through your story, and this is very true, I think it happens. There's an evolution to uh, business,
Yeah.
and especially as a solopreneur, especially for coaches and consultants, there's an evolution, I think, that happens to just about all of us, that we start kind of doing one thing and then we find ourselves kind of morphing into something else as we realize something that we maybe didn't know about ourselves before, because of the fact that we're going through our story. And then we start working with people, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, yeah, so this is really where I want to go. I want to add the PR. For me, I started out way back when, doing more personal development type stuff. So I'm Jack Canfield Success Principles certified. I'm trainer. I'm certified in positive psychology and stuff like that. So I was doing a lot of personal development. What happened was, as it evolved, and I talked about my story about how I evolved with my personal development. And as it evolved, having a big business background, because I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years and was in corporate world before that, as it started evolving, I started bringing on clients, and ultimately the conversations all ended up being business. And so it morphed into a business consulting more than the personal development because of that. You added PR because that was where things were going, and that was what was important to the people that you were working with. So I love how, just the idea of exploring your story brings you deeper into yourself, so that maybe if you're not necessarily 100% sure of your path, just by really digging deep into your story, it actually helps you discover where to go, what that next crossroads is, where to go next.
Exactly. And it also, I mean, none of us have any answers, right, about how our businesses will evolve, how we might scale in terms of size or the services we're going to offer and things like that. Those things are always evolving, they're always changing. But when you get to a place where it's like, regardless of the physical and financial side of it, mentally and emotionally, I feel at peace. I find joy with this. I'm really enjoying where I'm at with it. That shines through in everything that you do. And in sharing and finding that joy and sharing that part of your story is powerful, not just to your audience, but to yourself as well. So much of what I do with my clients is mindset work to get them to that point where they have that confidence to go, sharing my story doesn't have to be scary, and it also doesn't have to be something that I'm doing with strangers. I always say to them, change your perspective a little bit. What you're doing is expanding your community, because everyone you talk to through the media, you all have common ground with one another, right? Common subjects, common genres, maybe experiences that you've both had building your businesses. Focus on that. And then what you're doing then is expanding on your audience, expanding on your community, and also building trust with the media themselves, right? So the more you do that, the more you can find joy through it. And when you find joy through it, your audience picks up on that. And that's when
Mm.
they go, hey, maybe I should check out what Regina's up to, and I should be following her and signing up for her newsletter so I can stay in touch and everything. And maybe down the road, that's going to lead to new clients for you, or somebody buying from you, or referrals, whatever it is. But being able to get to that place where it's like, I am really enjoying where I'm at and I'm having fun with it. People want to know, how'd you get to that point?
Right. And when you say that, the word that keeps coming to my head is hope. So you're instilling hope in others that you've gone through all of this. You've figured out, at least for you, how to make it work. And if it worked for you, chances are pretty good it's going to work for some other people as well. It may not be everybody, because not everybody's going to resonate with you. However, it's going to work for some. And they're looking at you, um, from the emotion of, I'm struggling, I'm overwhelmed, I'm anxious, I'm here. You look like you're peaceful, you're joyful, you love doing what you're doing. How'd you do that? You're giving them hope, going, okay, well, I'm not there, and I'm feeling kind of crappy, right? I'm overwhelmed, and I'm feeling down, and yet I'm looking at Lillian going, wow, you look like you've got it all together. And how do I get to where you are? Because if you could do it, I can do it. And you instill that hope into, your potential clients or your prospects, that let them know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the oncoming train. It's it's something that can help you get to where you want to be. So I really love the way you do what it is that you do, and bring people through that journey of self-discovery.
It's one that honestly, Regina, I couldn't do now if I hadn't sat down and done the work for myself and been like, okay, what's actually keeping me from being where I want to be? Where's my mindset blocks at? How do I overcome them? And how do I recognize what I need to let go of to embrace that freedom? And once I did that, every day's been easy. Even if I have obstacles and roadblocks and everything, it's like, okay, well, I don't need to panic because I know where I need to go for help. I know how much time I have to give myself, and I can still feel accomplished that on a daily basis, I'm doing the best that I can do to the best of my ability, and that's all I need.
Right. And you said something earlier about, about perfection, right?
Hmm.
And some people think that, well, I have to be this, I have to be that. This has to be perfect in order for me to get started, in order for me to, do whatever. And perfection's overrated. There's no such I believe there's no such thing as perfection. So, perfection is a relative term, meaning what you consider perfection is not necessarily what I consider perfection. And I don't actually consider perfection because, again, perfection is overrated. And I just think that, anything could be made better. So there's no such thing as perfection because you can always do something different, something better, change something in a better way for yourself. It's all about self-improvement and improvement for, the bigger picture, whatever that view is for you. So when it comes to, you know, for the audience, when it comes to like Lillian and I, yeah, it's you look out on social media and that kind of stuff. What do people post? Most people post all of this great stuff. They look like they have the best lives ever.
Hmm.
And if you saw them off of social media, yeah, not so much. Everybody has their days. So do we. So we have our days too. We just have a different mindset. We've cultivated a different mindset so that when we have those days, like Lillian was saying, you just stop and go, okay, well, this isn't quite working out the way I wanted it to. So what am I going to do about that? Instead of creating, some drama or something that around going, oh, woe was me, and this has happened, and da 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 da. Instead of doing that, we've learned that number one, we all know that that doesn't serve us at all. When you just kind of decide to wallow in whatever's going on, we know it just keeps you stuck where you are. So if you ever say that you're stuck because you made yourself stuck. You're keeping yourself stuck. All you need to do is shift your mindset. And that's what Lillian talks about all the time. And as a PR coach, now you're a PR coach and publicist. Tell
Hmm.
us tell us more about the whole picture of what you do.
Well, as a PR coach, through my one-on-one sessions, I'm working with my clients to figure out what their limiting beliefs are and their mindset blocks are. That's priority number one. And number two with that is also addressing kind of the specific issues surrounding their PR and marketing strategies. Like, where are you stuck, right? I've had clients come to me and say, I've tried to send out a media pitch. I'm getting crickets. Can you take a look at it for me and kind of help me workshop what's going on? Um, in my coaching program, basically goes, that's 8 weeks. It goes from beginning to end, where we start off with mindset and goal planning, and then we end with, now you've had a piece of coverage go live. How are we going to promote it effectively so your projects stay top of mind? And coaching's really about giving my clients the clarity and the perspective, as well as the tools and resources they need to move forward with launching PR campaigns on their own. And meanwhile, I'm sort of alongside, answering their questions, providing guidance when they get stuck, and also working with them to sort of refine things, but ultimately they take ownership of whatever it is that they're launching on. On the
Right.
campaign side, that's much more hands on for me. So if someone signs on to work with me on a campaign, then I'm working with them to physically build a strategy, to physically build a media kit, a media pitch, to physically develop the list of people we want to get in front of. And once that happens, I'm the one who's sending out the email pitches and touching base with folks on social media and helping them manage the media relations component. So scheduling all the interviews, booking events, making sure, product reviews or other things like that come out at a certain time, and just helping them bridge the gap between the client and the media outlets. So it really depends on where the client's at, what they're looking for, whether they want to really invest in the education side or they're looking to invest in the campaign side. The primary difference, of course, between coaching and campaigns is that with coaching, they get resources that come directly from me, from my library of contacts, from my resources that I've tailored and customized just for them. And on the campaign side, I work with them on the campaign, but once that's done, that's it. So there's no additional resources or things like that that they can take with them to move forward and launch their own campaigns.
Right. So ultimately, I'm hearing that your goal is to help people create and and distribute their marketing campaigns and all of this stuff. Now, do you do anything with like helping with ads? When you think about the marketing PR, does it encompass helping with creating ads, or tell us a little bit about what is a PR kit? What is a what's involved with that? Most of our clients here, or most of our folks, or our listeners here, they kind of like, they might use something like, MailChimp or something to, do a email campaign, or, create a lead magnet or something like that. Why would somebody want to use you for that added push from a PR standpoint?
The difference between PR and other aspects of marketing, um, and I cover this in my upcoming book that I'm releasing as well, compared to social media and email, is that social media and email is really primarily reliant on the entrepreneur themselves to put out the content, right? Like whatever it is that you have going on, you have events, you have a new product, you entered into a new partnership, whatever, you're the one that's creating that content and putting it out there. The power of PR comes from the fact that the content is not reliant on you. What you're doing by sharing your story through the media is you are building these powerful relationships and you are leveraging the trust, the credibility, and the reputation that the media outlet has to get in front of your audience, and some of that trust and credibility they have in that media outlet gets transferred to you. So what that does is you have these higher profile third party media outlets that are creating fantastic high quality content on your behalf that you can use for social media and for email to show your audiences that, hey, you're building credibility. It's not just that you're out there promoting your services all the time and, to use a phrase I use all the time, toot your own horn, right? All of a sudden, you have these media outlets that are doing that on your behalf. And that's when people go, okay, it's not just so and so talking about themselves. They actually have these other people that are sharing their products, sharing their services, talking to them about their story. Maybe I should check them out. That's what's going to set a lot the entrepreneurs apart that incorporate PR as part of their marketing strategies and the ones that don't, because you can only get so far with building your audience using email, social media, and yeah, even ads, because with ads, that's a cold audience that you're reaching out to. Your ad may be the first touch point they've ever had about you and your business. And people these days have to see something 20 times before A, it sinks in, and B, they decide to take action on it. So
Mm.
you think about how much more money you may have to spend showing your ad versus getting on, say, podcasts to build these relationships with people and people going, oh, hey, I heard about Regina on so and so's podcast. And then she showed up again on another podcast. Maybe I should check her out. You know, when they hear directly from you, that creates warmer leads for you. And that is a way to for them to build trust and understand more about what you do and how you do it and why you do it. So then the hope is that when they book a call with you, they're already educated, they're already pre-qualified, they already have some idea of why they're reaching out to you. So when it comes to other aspects of marketing, in addition to the PR side, I also help my clients build out a social media strategy because I've had clients say to me, like, I'm launching a new program. I've never launched anything in my life. Can we incorporate the social media content side of that? Because I don't even know what to tell people about it. And I say, the social media strategy part is also there to support and help supplement what you're doing in PR because social media is one way you can share your interviews, your reviews, your events, but at the same time, you also want to have that foundation of content ready to go that tells people, you know, what you're launching, what it's about, why it matters, and then if they want more information to hear directly from you on it, listen to this interview, attend this event, right? Sign up for this other thing where you can hear directly from me talking more about it. And all that does is that it's building that foundation of trust and credibility with your audiences.
Right. So that was a lot of information. I'm summarizing it in my head, and it's going to sound very summarized as your what you do with PR is like the next level up marketing. So you have your basic marketing stuff where you're out there posting on social media, LinkedIn, all the social media channels, sending out an email, writing a blog, stuff like that. And then you want to launch something, and then that's where you come in, where you go, okay, well, who do you want to get it in front of? And like you said earlier, you can only go so far with your audience, and then you need more creative ways to start reaching more and more people. And that's where you come in, because you get them in front of so many more people. So I really love what you do. We're actually out of time. I did put your introspective writing services here. Is this the right email, right website for folks to check out?
It is, yeah. They can see my services there and what else I offer, and get a sense of who, you know, previous clients I've worked with, and also workshops and webinars that I've held in the past as well.
Oh, that is awesome. Do you have any final words that you want to throw in there? I've actually really loved this conversation because, I talk to my clients about that base marketing piece. I don't go into, hey, let's build a PR campaign, let's do this, let's do that. That's where you come in. That it builds off of where I go to where you go in as far as like expanding the reach. So I really love what it is that you do and what you focus on. Is there any final tips, comments, things that you'd want our listeners to know?
The one thing I would invite all the entrepreneurs watching and listening to this to really think about when it comes to PR and marketing in general is really take that time to sit down and brainstorm, where do you want to go? What's holding you back from getting there? And are you currently working towards it? Is what you're doing right now getting you to where you need to go? And if it's not, that's when you should consider asking for the right kind of help, reaching out to a PR agency, a publicist, whoever, to get some more information about how they align with your brand, your values, what you want to do. Because reaching out for the right kind of help can only happen if you have some concrete ideas of where you want to go, but you don't know how to get there. We
Mm.
can't help you if you don't know where you want to go first.
Yeah, and I love how you start with that because you start with their mindset and bring them through that to make sure that they're going in the right direction. So I love what it is that you do, Lillian, and thank you so much for being here on Coffee with Regina.
Thanks for having me, Regina. Anytime you have questions or, want to chat again, I'm always open.
Yes, and we'll make sure that the links for Lillian are underneath the post in all the platforms that we're running live on right now, so that you can connect with Lillian. Because I'm telling you, she is a wealth of information when it comes to PR and marketing. Because it's a very involved piece of your business, and it is the core piece of your business that brings in new clients. So having the right people behind you is key to your success. Thanks everybody for visiting us on Coffee with Regina, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.